Hi, you guys. We're doing 3.2, the second half, and we're going to be talking more about adjectives today. So just as a reminder, remember that an adjective is a describing word, okay? And specifically, it describes a noun. So because our nouns have a masculine, feminine, singular, or plural, of course, our adjectives also have to have a masculine, feminine, singular, plural to make sense and make what we call agreement with our noun. So we're going to start with what we normally do with adjectives, which is in order to make it go from masculine to feminine, we've already talked about if it already ends in an E, we are not going to add another E onto it to make it feminine. It'll always just be the same. If it ends in another consonant, normally we would add an E. Sometimes there are some irregular endings, which we have already talked about, like IEN when we did nationalities. We'll now get an ending where it's IE-double-N-E. So there's an extra N in there. There's some irregular ones over here on page 72 of our textbook. And I would like to go through each of these. Some of these we've actually talked about in this chapter because some of them have simply just come up in our vocabulary. But here we go. So we're going to start off with the EUX, EUR endings becoming EUSE. So for the masculine, we have heureux, and the feminine is heureuse. So this SE here, you'll actually hear. On the plural side, because you can't add anything onto an X, you can't add an S onto it, it will just stay the same. Whereas heureuse, you can indeed add an S onto that E. So heureux, heureuse, heureux, heureuse in the plural. Pronunciation changes. For travailleur, EUR endings will become EUSE, travailleur, travailleuse. I can add an S onto either of those, travailleur, travailleuse. So you'll start noticing that your masculine in your singular as well as your plural will sound the same. And your feminine in the singular and plural will also sound the same. All right, the rest of this list is ER becomes ERE. So that's really just adding an E, which is normal, but then you've got that little sneaky accent up here at the top. So example, cher, which means dear or expensive, becomes cher. Plural is cher and cher. So for this one, the pronunciation does not change at all. Cher, 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 cher. IF endings become IVE, so if becomes Yves. Example, sportif, sportive. Plural, sportif, sportive. So the S is once again here, you will not hear it all. IL becomes ILLE. The pronunciation here will not change at all. Gentil, gentil. Gentil, gentil. EL will become ELLE. Pronunciation, intellectuel, 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 intellectuel. So the pronunciation changes for none of these. IEN, which we've already talked about, becomes IE-double-N-E. Parisien, parisienne, parisien, parisienne. So my N's will be pronounced firmly on the feminine, but the difference between singular and plural is only on the level of spelling, not on pronunciation. Okay, there's a couple of more irregulars down here that would follow this. Courageux and courageuse follows the EUX, EUSE ending. Paresseux, paresseuse, which we've also talked about. Sérieux, sérieuse. All of those will follow that original group. Next one, fier, fière. Pronunciation here is the same between the two, but it follows this rule right here. ER becoming ERE with the accent grave. Naïf, naïve follows the IF, IVE endings. Naïf, naïve. Canadien, canadienne, we've already talked about when we did nationalities, that of course follows IEN, IE-double-N-E. The feminine forms of beau and nouveau are belle and nouvelle. The adjective chic is invariable in gender. So invariable in gender means that chic isn't going to change for masculine or feminine, nor is it going to change between singular and plural. But I do want to take a second to talk about beau and belle. So beau becomes belle. In order to pluralize this, I would add an X onto beau and an S onto belle. For nouveau, similarly, we've got nouveau and nouvelle. In order to pluralize, I'm going to add an X onto the masculine and an S onto the feminine. All right. So what I'm going to have you guys do is start off with this exercise. Patrice and Patricia are alike in every respect. Describe them taking turns with a partner. Have you do this exercise in class. But Patrice is a male person and Patricia is a female. So you're given a list right here of all masculine singular adjectives. What I'm going to have you do is, in describing Patricia, who's a feminine person, I'm going to have you turn them all into feminine and singular. Okay? Following the rules from above.